Okay, who here hasn't been to space? Why? You better not throw up on my ship.
Approaching jump in 3, 2, 1.
Another one that is possibly going to be announced, because this was talked about on the Marvel subreddit, is Spider-Man. Spider-Man 4. We still don't know what's going on with Tom Holland. We don't know what's going on with Andrew Garfield or anything like that. You know, we still have the rumors that Sony does want to do an Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew, and that if they do that, Spider-Man, Kevin Feige would be involved. I don't see Kevin Feige or anything talking about Sony projects at D23, but there is still the joint project that MCU and Sony have the under contract to do one more project together with Spider-Man. So is that going to be the solo project? Or plus they have the whole cameo. They have, I think, a few more cameos with him, but that would be the solo project for Spider-Man. So could Spider-Man 4 be possibly announced at D23? Obviously coming out in, I don't know, maybe phase 6, after phase 6, I don't know, but could Spider-Man 4 be possibly announced there for D23 with Tom Holland? You know, he's not said anything. I don't even think he signed contracts yet. Last time
I heard anything, he hadn't.
Yes, last time we talked about Tom Holland, he hadn't signed any contracts yet, but I think that's good on him. I really do. I think you played, if you're Tom Holland, after you gave 3 successful movies, despite what everybody thinks about the first one, I loved it.
Well, when you got to add the Avengers too. I mean, he was
heavily involved in those. You take.
Well, he wasn't involved in Endgame, but No Way Home. I mean,
Infinity War. You take what Tom Holland did in the MCU. If I'm Tom Holland, especially after I give you a $1 billion. Is it one? No, it wasn't $1 billion. It was 2. No. No Way Home breached $1 billion, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It dethroned Black Panther.
Then I want that RDJ money.
Yeah.
I want that. Yeah. If I'm showing up in a film, I want that $50K. If I'm showing up in a cameo, I want that $50K.
RDJ robbed them blind.
It's almost at $2 billion.
Yeah, no, but see, here's the thing about that. Robert Downey Jr. is the MCU.
Yeah, I mean, he was the face, he was the star, and it makes sense. I feel like they're kind of, I don't want to say fucked, but a little bit backed into a corner on the fact that with everything going on, right, with them doing all this multiversal, with all the Kang stuff going on, all that's fine and good, but there's one hero on your roster of all these new and old characters that will put asses in the seats, and his name is Peter Parker.
Yep.
So they have to bring him in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll fully extend their contract with Sony as long as it takes.
Oh, I fully expect that to be done.
I'll also argue that with the way No Way Home left off, Peter's it's going to be on the streets, right? It's going to be pizza delivery boy on the side trying to pay rent level Spider. It's the Spider-Man we all want to see, right? Mm-hmm. It really and truly it is. So it would be weird if he just made everyone forget who he is, goes to the apartment level being a crime-fighting Spider-Man, to immediately back in the main major Avengers films. I don't know. I would need to see a film of him. I want to see a film of him just being Spider-Man.
No, I would want to see the film of him being Spider-Man. But I think that's one of the things that confuses people about the end of Spider-Man and how the spell worked and what the spell did and everything like that. You know, he's still Spider-Man.
Right.
He's still, people know, the world is conscious of his events in Infinity War. They are conscious of his events with Mysterio. They are
just
conscious.
Him as Peter.
It's just Spider-Man. They don't know who Peter Parker is. They don't know who's under the mask. So the idea, it still looms that he is this murderer. That he is there was an extra scene added in the More Fun Stuff version. Well, several extra scenes, but one of the extra scenes that was added was the paint. With his brother stealing that woman's purse and him webbing his brother up as the criminal and things like that. Then he's arguing, but the scene that before the paint gets thrown on him, he's arguing with 3 different. It's a funny scene. He's arguing with 3 different individuals, citizens in New York. And the one lady comes out in her New York accent. She comes out at the store and she says, "Well, should you even be, stringing him up like that? You know, you're a murderer yourself." And da 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 da. And then she said, "You're a kid." And then one of the guys goes, It doesn't matter if he's a kid. There's another citizen, and then she goes, "What do you mean it doesn't matter if he's a kid?" Then another citizen goes, "Well, he can legally rent a car." and then they're just going back and forth. And then she goes, "Well, how do you guys know he's not with this guy? How do you know they're not in cahoots? How do you know that she?" And then Spider-Man's like, "Why would I be in cahoots with this guy?" She's like, "I don't even know this guy." She's like, "But how do we know you don't know this guy?" And so then the guy comes up and throws the paint on him, and it's like, Mysterio was right, and blah 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 blah. So it's still like Matt Murdock said in the film, the court of public opinion is still out there. So he may still be Spider-Man, and nobody knows that he is Peter Parker anymore. But Spider-Man still has a shit ton to deal with within his own neighborhood. So I think that is where they will focus on Spider-Man 4, is the shit that he's got to deal with. Still got to deal with the spell. He's got to deal with the fact that he is alone. He has no friends. He has no one he can go to. Aunt May's gone. He doesn't know his parents. We don't know if Uncle Ben exists. Well, we know he exists in the MCU. We don't know where the fuck he is in the MCU. They've never alluded that he's dead or alive. They've just alluded to the initials. So we don't know anything about it.
You know what he can do, right?
What's that?
He can get pictures of Spider-Man.
Well, he's gonna.
He can start that phase, man.
I'm sure he will start that. But we're just gonna see him still dealing with the events from No Way Home. I'm sure. Of
course.
Just because and MJ will be back. I don't think we're not gonna see Zendaya as MJ anymore or anything like that. I think she will be back. But there's a lot that they could dive into with the Spider-Man 4. Yeah. Especially with now us having Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin in the MCU, and the rumors of him running for mayor in what did I say it was? I think it was the Echo. Was it Echo? Uh-huh. Him running for mayor in Echo, and if the rumors is true and he does become mayor Kingpin or mayor whatever, imagine what that does to Spider-Man. You're already hated by half of New York because they, accuse you of murdering Mysterio. But then let's say Kingpin is shady, but he's also the mayor, but people love him as mayor. Let's say the public love him, and Spider-Man does something to hurt him. Well, then you got more people hating you as your friend.
And I love that Spider-Man. Too, because it's a street level thing as well of what does that do to Daredevil?
Right.
That's one thing I like. If in Echo he becomes the mayor, that affects Spider-Man, that affects Daredevil. It causes a ripple effect that affects other heroes unrelated to the series entirely. Mm-hmm. And that is what I like about the MCU. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because now Kingpin can be doing a lot of illegal deals, and his men can be pushing a lot. And
that's what I'm saying. As mayor, he's untouchable. Well, I don't want to say he's untouchable because you look at Cuomo in New York, or you look at his brother that just got fired from CNN. At one point during the pandemic, the Cuomo brothers were like I know I was personally, every time they were on CNN, I was like glued to what either one of them were saying. I still like the one that got fired from CNN, but I don't want to say he's untouchable because the mayor's not just untouchable, but he is in a more untouchable status than he just is as Kingpin, the businessman.
Well, and you definitely are at that point in the vigilante status of like the police defend the mayor, right? If they don't think he's doing anything wrong, they're defending him. You are actively now fighting police. You are, excuse me, in the eyes of the press, the populace, the bad guy. Mm-hmm.
And see, we haven't seen our 616 Tom Holland Spider-Man deal with the police department who hate Spider-Man. Who think that he's trying to do their jobs and things like that. You can throw that in there, There's just a lot that could be done with Spider-Man, obviously in Spider-Man, Marvel, Kevin Feige, Sony, and everyone over there is not stupid to not put Spider-Man back in the MCU and have, asses in the seats. Right. So that's definitely going to happen. Q, did you have any thoughts on Spider-Man 4?
Not really. I was listening to all that, and I'm really just excited to see where they do go with it. Because I've been knowing that, everyone knows Spider-Man is Marvel's most prized possession. And so, there's just endless routes they could go with. Like, Spider-Man 4, we could have hundreds of different theory discussions on
Right.
it.
On and on and
And
on.
only one of them, none of them could be right. Only one storyline is going to be true and everything. So it's just.
I mean,
But one thing I am interested to see is how the Echo and even how Kingpin and Daredevil series can affect it. Just because that all those storylines are supposed to take place in New York City and everything.
Right.
So I'm just excited to see how they connect the storylines within the city and start differentiating like the threats, like the city level, the street level threats, and then the cosmic, and then the just everything between that. Because they're starting to do like I said last time we streamed everything, like stuff at the same time, like all this is going on simultaneously and everything. So it's cool to see that, and I hope pretty soon we actually get to see cameo, like more team ups, cameos, and stuff like that. Because like we always talk about, I go back and watch the old movies just to see the interactions between heroes and everything. So that's just one thing I'm looking forward to getting back to.
You know, one thing too that they still can do and that they have not touched on since the first one, Far From Home. Homecoming. Scorpion. We don't know. You know, I'm sitting here talking about Vincent D'Onofrio, but the rogues gallery for Spider-Man is deep as well. There's so many dope villains that they could do. You know, I love that in Into the Spider-Verse they're doing Spot. Not everybody knows who Spot is, and Spot's an amazing villain.
Yep.
You know, you think you're punching him, but then he's sending your fucking fist back through and it's hitting you. So you don't, you know, or hitting somebody else or whatever. Like he can, I know in the cartoon, the 90s cartoon, he trapped Spider-Man in like a just space, basically. He was just floating around. So I mean, there's shit that there's so many villains that he has.
Basically, those portals that he has his own.
You can teleport
them.
Right. But and that's the thing. You know, overall, like you're saying, that the point to that is Spider-Man does have Spider-Man's been around for long enough and was one of Stan Lee's all-time. I mean, it was Stan Lee's all-time favorite hero, right? So yeah, he has an incredibly deep storyline. He's involved in so many things, and he has such a again a diverse roster. You know, that's where I'm kind of like, if you know, fuck you Sony for how they're doing Kraven, just because I remember my uncle who's got me into comics, right? I remember him more than once bringing up, like, I wish they would stop doing the Sinister Six every fucking time. Bring Kraven in, and he start dropping names, right? As a Spider-Man comic fan growing up reading it, these are the things he wanted to see, and it just goes to show you there's so much you can do with Spider-Man.
Right, Kraven's Hunt. Kraven's Hunt, I believe, was on the table before the No Way Home. Before we got that, I believe it was Kraven's Hunt that was on the table. Well, Kraven at least was going to be in the film. I don't know if it was.
Yeah, that's what Tom Holland said.
Yeah.
They said in that interview and everything it was supposed to be a Kraven film.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like that would have been awesome to see with Tom Holland being a young Spider-Man. A really young, really energetic. I mean, when you look at him, they're getting out of high school, right? To going up against Kraven.
But Kraven would have kicked his ass.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Who is actively hunting him? That would have been fucking crazy to see on TV.
I think
on the big screen.
I think a more mature Spider-Man dealing with Kraven is a more interesting watch, because if him that young dealing with Kraven, he barely handled Vulture. Barely handled Vulture.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, that's the thing, though, and that's what I think some of these movies could benefit from. A hero can lose.
No, I'm not.
You know, I remember. So when Carnage first came about, what has enshrined him as in my mind today is still one of my favorite villains of all time. Is when Carnage first showed up, he beat the shit out of Spider-Man, then beat the shit out of Venom, then Spider-Man and Venom teamed up, and guess what? He beat the shit out of them again, until they finally had to use the nanowave device, and it's like that terrified me. So have a movie where he's dealing with Kraven and Kraven beats him in the end, and he has to like that would just drum me up to go see the next movie. I think they could benefit from that a little bit.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I think they could. I just think you could still do that with a more mature Spider-Man. Like, he could still lose, but right out of high school, like, he's still a senior in high school, and you've got this lunatic that believes that, you know,
you're the ultimate hunt.
Yeah, you're the ultimate hunt. You're his prized possession. He's got to take you down to prove. No, like what? If I'm a senior in high school, I'm like, what the fuck? I've got a final next week. I've got finals next week. I've got this dealing with. I haven't even asked MJ to prom. She's asked me what we're gonna wear.
But you're saying that this motherfucker's
I was about to say, is it far-fetched
Yeah,
from like
that's
MCU?
true.
From what MCU Spidey's already done though? Like,
yeah, that would have been my whole point. It's like you're saying
that nigga flew through the battle battlefield with that gauntlet.
Yeah, but at what point does I mean? I guess it is the point of Spider-Man. At what point does he ever get to live a normal life? He never really does get to live a normal life.
But I'll give you the. I mean, just look at Civil War, right?
Yeah.
You're saying you can't do, the Kraven, the crazy guy coming after you. But in Civil War, he's literally fighting the Avengers. Like,
well, he fought Cap.
Yeah, he fought Cap. He
Got
fought
a hit
Winter
on
Soldier.
Cap.
He fought Bucky and Falcon at the same time.
So
That is
like,
true, and I
like,
love
this
that
is
scene.
a
Whoa, you got a
different-
metal arm?
That was the scene.
That was
I
so
think I said
Spider-Man.
it to you repeatedly that made me fall in love with Tom Holland Spider-Man. I didn't like how he looked.
Oh, I
didn't
loved
like
it.
Well, no. Whenever I saw like the rumors he was being introduced, right? I didn't.
Oh, you didn't like Tom Holland's look.
I was really like, what are we doing here? I was kind of confused. I wasn't sure because also Spider-Man's role in Civil War was way more prevalent. And it was
Vastly different Civil War,
He
though.
was older, and he was kind of the linchpin. They were pulling him either direction.
He identified himself, though.
So when he landed down and grabbed that fist and was like, "You have a metal arm," I was like, "It's fucking."
Yeah, no, I
Spider-Man,
loved it. He
dude.
was like, "You have a
I
metal
loved it.
arm? That is so cool."
So cool.
I love that. Just like I thought the scene in No Way Home when he said, he's like, I'm in charge. He's like, "Look, buddy, I'm in charge of this whole cynical situation you got going on here." That scene, and then the scene where he beat Doctor Strange. He's like, "I just got in a fight with Doctor Strange, and look, I got his ring thingy."
Yeah.
Like, I'm like that is so Spider-Man, bro. I'm like, yeah, I loved it. So you could still do that. No, he's not in high school anymore, but that could have been something that could have been done. But I like the fact that we still have Kraven on the table to deal with Spider-Man. So Spider-Man 4 is definitely something that could be announced at
I'm saying,
D23.
Let's get some contract shit over with and get Spider-Man away from Sony.
Man, I wish.
Oh,
That
shit,
should-
Marvel got
never
the
gonna
full
happen.
Spider-Man
if they got the
rights,
full Spider-Man
my
rights,
God.
because I think
That
the
shit ain't never
She-Hulk.
gonna happen.
What I can't remember if it was She-Hulk. Was it She-Hulk or was it the Daredevil writer? No, I think it was the She-Hulk writers that said they wanted, like, they had so many characters on the table that they could use, and they wanted to use Spider-Man, but they were told no. If the MCU had the rights, now making sense of why Spider-Man's in San Francisco, but
Well, he was in fucking Paris, and
he was, but I mean, sure.
Maybe
Or
he
he was in
being
Italy,
maybe
yeah.
he being hunted.
Sure.
Maybe he's running from Kraven.
Sure.
He's getting that ass look, man. See,
Sure.
we're trying to make
being
waves
hunted.
here.
No,
We're
but
trying to
Now he need a lawyer
I'm
to
saying
get
though
him
that
out the
they,
country.
it's just that if Marvel
Change
had
his
the full
identity.
rights to Spider-Man, the things that they could do with
She-Hulk,
him,
Daredevil team up representing Spider-Man.
they would be able to use him so much, so much more than they are able to use him at all. But so Spider-Man 4 announcement at SDCC or D23 would be great. Another one of those.